What is going on, DJ Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the Waste Management Phoenix Open. As usual, I am here with my partner in crime, everybody's favorite Canadian, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, what is up, my friend?
We're back. This is the real golf, Kenny. I'm over it. Done with these rotations, done with these late finishes. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm happy to be back. We're in Phoenix, Waste Management Phoenix Open. Before we get into it, I want to remind everyone very quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by PrizePicks.com. Head on over to PrizePicks.com, use promo code MMN, get yourself a 100% deposit bonus up to your first $100. Lots going on over there. We talked last week about it. There's Pick'em DFS. You're going to have all kinds of options for this week. So check that out. Go to PrizePicks.com, use promo code MMN. Kenny, I don't know, man. People are going back and forth on Twitter about it this week. It had nothing to do with the result, the Monday finish, the weather, any of that. I just did not enjoy this past week. It wasn't results. I was over it like early on, and then it just played out good for Justin Rose. The finishes, I had some sweats. I had stuff going on. It had nothing to do with that. It was not my favorite event. I am so happy we're back to a great event here and then a wonderful stretch of events upcoming.
Yeah, I'm 0-3 in these weird cut events. So this season so far, I'm 2-0 on things with a 36-hole cut. So hopefully that goes. That means I lost this week in cash. I lost by like 8 to 12 points, 8 to 15 points in all double ups. So that hurt Nate Lashley's withdrawal. Probably did it. If he finished the last 6 holes, maybe I had a chance. But I didn't, and it failed, and it sucked. But I did have Malnati as one of my long shots on Cup's Corner on Wednesday. So it actually like made me watch the golf because I had a 250 to 1 long shot up there on the leaderboard. Now, Tam, I got a question for you. So they just opened up a book in Virginia that does each ways. I don't think I'm going to start this week, but I think I'm going to start next week. Can you explain to me how each way works? So say I bet Malnati this past week, 250 to 1. Okay. And I put, let's say $10 on it. Okay. Half will go to the win. So if he wins, I win. Get my $5 and I get a 250 to 1 on the $5 and what about the other $5?
Yeah. The way you said it, like you're chopping it up, it would actually be a $10 each way, like 5 on the win, 5 on the each way. So it's the 5 times the 250 is $1,250 that you would receive for that. You would, if he wins, you also get the each way money, but the benefit is for you a little bit if you didn't get the win, like in this case, and you got the chop. It depends on what they do. Some books are 1/8, 1/5, 1/4 for the odds, but let's just say it's 1/4. It's essentially taking that, dividing it up to give you what would it be, 62.50? I think, and then you would get that times your $5, so you'd end up still with $312.50. So it's not the worst if you hit it, because it's still
now, if you finish second, say it's an 8-way each way. If you finish second, you get paid the same as if you get finished 8th?
Yeah. If you didn't win,
okay.
It's just the backup plan. There's no like second place each way, third place each way. It's the each way is how many places did you receive? Mine are always like a top 8 each way, the book I have. But like you said, for you, it may end up being a top 5. And then it's also, you got to look at what it's chopping it by. Like, so I could do top 5 with a 1/4 each way where I get 25 per, like chop the odds in 4, or I can get the extra places for the 1/5. And I always choose to take the extra places because it doesn't really change things that much. It just gives you a little bit more leeway, because a lot of times your guy finishes 6th or 7th that you could just have them on the 8s, or if it overextends, like that's the other thing you'll have to look at with your book with like dead heats and ties and that sort of stuff, where if you're finishing top 5 and then there's 7 guys that finish up there, you're going to get crushed on that each way payout. So it's not always the best case scenario. This week would have been pretty good. It was I think 6 guys finished up there. He tied for 4th.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to start that here soon. So if you guys live in Virginia, the book that is open 365 days a year will have the each way. So I'm going to check that out here shortly. The event itself, it wasn't great. I mean, it was sort of fun watching him play in the hail and shit like that. I mean, Rose, we sort of seen his game really stepping up here in the last few months. I wasn't shocked about his win. I did roster a good amount of them. I think I lost $90 in GPPs out of my 260. So about 30%, 33% My GPP, like I got back 66, so it wasn't like a total loss of a week. But still a losing week. It sucks. Yeah, the cash, I had Spieth really, didn't do as well as I thought he would in the tournament. It usually crushes. And that's basically what cost me. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't that great to watch. I watched some this morning. I mean, Justin Rose went ahead and like birdied the first two or something like that. When I looked up, he was already at 17. I was like, well, this shit's over. Since I was at work. Yeah, definitely not the most fun event to watch. And, I really have to start thinking about cutting back on these type of events just because I lose all the time. In these events. So, it's like they're saying something to me, like, Kenny, why do you play the same amount on weeks where you lose all the fucking time? So maybe I got to start thinking different, next year when we get to the Amex, when we get to the one we played last week, I'll probably play the same amount. But yeah, it wasn't great to watch. It wasn't a fun golf week. I guess the more fun was, Abraham Answer out there winning in the Asian Tour. And then you had the guy, I think it was in the DP World Tour, where he hit the water twice on 18 and still won the event. So some crazy stuff that went on in golf this week. The event itself, well, not great. Good for Justin Rose. And then, you had Kitayama up there. You had Denny up there. Who else is up there, Tambo?
A lot of good guys I had up. That's what I was trying to preface it with. Like, I could have won 50K this week, and I would not have enjoyed watching that. I don't know what it was. It just didn't get me. I think there was a lot of talk, and I was going to talk on it for just 2 minutes with you, Kenny, because I like people are talking about bringing more team events, integrate more, and it's only so many times a year. We know what it is. I'm just saying that doesn't, like, I'm a huge golf fan. I'm gambling on every event. That's a big reason behind it. Betting, DFS, putting a lot of money in. It wouldn't have mattered to me if I won 50K plus this week or a seat or anything. I didn't enjoy the watch. I think that's where they have more stuff that they got to figure out. Again, they're going to play it every week. There's sponsors involved. I get all that stuff. I'm just saying the biggest golf fans don't like watching it or don't care about it enough to tune in. You'll see the ratings. They'll probably come out not good is my guess. That's fine. It's not good for Live. It's not good for anything. We're not pushing up other stuff. We're just saying that is their problem they have to figure out. And look, it's going to be the way it is. They're not maybe expecting them to be as high because now we've got a designated event that's going to be absolutely incredible. But this event was incredible with or without the, it just gets that much better when it's designated. We already loved the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We already watched it like crazy, coinciding with the Super Bowl. Been to the event myself 4 times. This is an event that people get excited for no matter what. I don't know what they need to do to shock some juice into these other ones, but maybe it just is what it is. And you just let them go. But even with all the money on the table, I didn't enjoy it. There was nothing good about it. I had guys up top. We talked about Keith Mitchell, Denny McCarthy, me and Mayo used in the one and done. That was great. I had a side bet with Mayo of Bramlett and Hostler versus, Joey B. Yeah, Bramlett and Hostler versus Benny Ann and Higo. That was that was more fun. My text with Mayo back and forth about that than the actual event and watching it. Good for Taylor Pendrith. Good for some of the other guys up there. But it just was not exciting at all for me as a huge golf fan. Did not enjoy.
Yeah, Pendrith looks like someone who's on the verge.
Yeah.
I would say. A really good finish this past week. Higo looked pretty good, out there. But I feel like Pendrith is due for a win here shortly. Him and Keegan, outside of those top echelon guys, I feel like those two are in line for a victory here shortly. We'll see if it comes through because
I thought Keegan again.
I think Keegan can win another.
I think so, but you're acting like he didn't just win recently.
Yeah,
he broke through. I'm happy for him.
I think he can win again. I think another one's coming for him. I know he won in the fall, right? Which one did he win?
I forget which one it was, but that was like what we were saying was more of the breakthrough and the tiers and everything had been a long time, right? So that was awesome to see him get the job done finally. Again, we know what his caliber is, but it was great to see him back, and I like him again for this week too. So I didn't get the magical number everybody got. Everyone. DK came out with the odds pretty early for this tournament, which was awesome to see. Again, people had moved on to that from the event. Another sign that it's not that great, but we get excited for these numbers. And I know he came out at 130 there. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge number. I would have loved to have that, but
I got him at 65 and I'm happy with that.
I got him at 75 with 8 places. I feel pretty good about it. So we'll talk on that later. I don't have much else, but the listener league, Kenny, was insane this week. I do want to talk about that because this is just a crazy thing. We went off on this. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Our guy Jay Morris 811. If you guys remember and listen to the show and watch whatever, he had 3 different lineups finish 1, 2, 3 in a tournament of, at the time, I believe it was 500 people. So this just adds to the effect as well. We got it bumped to 750. Jay Morris, 811, wins again. He is the champion. But he almost did it again, Kenny. 1st, 5th, and 7th, 3 different lineups completely in this tournament. Not completely unique, but I'm saying they're not like the same lineup or anything. Like they were mix and matches of the same pool. 1st, 5th, and 7th in a 750-man field. 2-time winner in such a short period of time. You've been here since day one, Kenny. I don't know. Have we ever had 2 back-to-back, like 2 winners? We've had multiple winners of this tournament. I get that. I'm saying, have they ever won it that close together like he just did?
I can't remember off the top. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's probably happened before, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, very dominant to start the season. We will say that. So again, thank you guys to filling it up. The 750 people. We've been filling it up quickly. This week I had to wrap up again. Said it was 14 hours in advance, I think, even on the turnaround. So that was fine, and we'll get it going. It's back for 750 this week. Get out, get in. Hopefully for the players, that's the plan. We'll get it to 1,000, and then if that works out, we'll talk about what we can do. Maybe at the majors we can get 1,250. Like there's definitely an opportunity. He's willing to move it up as long as we keep filling it up. So thank you to everybody there. Shout out again to Jay Morris, 811. But you can go through the lineup, Kenny, if you want.
So he had the winner, Mr. Rose, who was 9% owned in the listener league. He had Mitchell, who finished 4th. He was 12% owned. Detry, he, of course, he finished 37th. He was 9% owned. Lanto, 19% owned, finished in 58th. Bramlett, 9% owned, finished in 94th. And Ryan Moore, that was the one right there, finished in 7th place, 0.27% owned. He might have been the only person to own him. So really, really solid lineup there. Well, funny thing is, I didn't see a single golfer over 10K. Not many golfers over 10% owned. This is true, pure GPP lineup, right?
Yeah, it looks good across the board. Like you said, low ownership on 4 of the guys at least. The other 2 not even that high owned. Lanto being the highest at 18, and then Ryan Moore was on 2 of his 3 lineups. So he was getting close to being all the Ryan Moore ownership in the tournament, but still. Again, like I said, just shout out to him. Huge congrats. It's a pretty big feat to go 1, 2, 3 and then 1, 5, 7 within such a short period of time. Get all the cash in between. I'm not sure where else he had this one this week, but solid lineup nonetheless. And we'll see him in the 3-man this week. He's already in the Tournament of Champions. So the only downfall to that, and we'll have to figure it out, is I don't think there's a way to enter a second team into it. We'll try and see if there is, but as of now, it's going to be just he's already in it. So it just keeps somebody else out of it, which makes the field smaller for him to go up against. So that's kind of the same thing backwards, but that's all I got for the Listener League for this week, Kenny.
All right, good job by Jay Morris. Let's move to this week. The PGA Tour, it's going to be in Phoenix. They're going to take on the stadium course of TPC Scottsdale for the Waste Management Phoenix Open. The WMPO, normally one of the most exciting and most attended events on tour. You're going to get 500,000 fans out there this week. In the past, I sort of had the notion that golfers need to be thoroughly prepared for 16, of course, the stadium hole, the par 3, the most famous hole. Probably, do you think it's the most famous hole in golf? Like, not just based on legacy of the way it plays, but everyone knows that even non-golf fans know that hole more than anything else just because of that stadium course. Do you think it's the most what's the word I'm looking for? Most well-known hole in golf?
I actually don't. I think there's, got to be other holes.
The road hole.
Well, like even like 17 at the Players is not, and there's more. There's others better than that. Probably, I'm definitely not the course guy to talk about this stuff, but I just say like people still know about these other holes in golf, and anyone in golf or that knows course as well would tell you for sure it's not. I think so. It's definitely well known. It's popular. It's fun. Been there a few times. Like I said, it's excellent fun, but I don't think it's the most popular now.
Now, I used to think, pretty heavily that golfers need to be thoroughly prepared for 16 before they get in there. And that's why you see some golfers that's why I thought you see some golfers not play this event, Rory, for years upon years. Now, if I'm talking to people who've gone to the event, it sounds like the other 17 holes are pretty quiet. Campbell, can you confirm this? Because what I'm thinking this week, especially, I don't know why Rory hasn't played this event but once or twice in his career. because it's so driver heavy, and he is the best driver of the golf ball in the world for the last decade. What has kept him from playing here other than the raucous crowd? What do you have you heard of anything? Because I know he's had issues with rowdy crowds at Ryder Cups and stuff like that. Do you think that's why he doesn't play here?
I don't know, because I mean, we've seen him feed off crowds at Ryder Cup. We've seen him at, I mean, look, I can't compare because this is I can't compare because I haven't been to the Canadian Open, but I will say the crowd that year, like just last season, was incredible at the Canadian Open. They're not the same party crowd that this is, but to answer your first question, because being there and just tell you how it is, the buzz is when you get in that zone of 16. So it's all the holes around it. 17, great par 4. We love that hole. You get people surrounding the back end of that. We saw guys, who was it? Spieth on the green when the guy was across from him causing a ruckus in behind him, and you saw that. Like there's a lot of holes that people are having fun on, but it typically is to that side or spot of the course. The rest is not that crazy. I mean, it's all built into there. The stadium feeling, you got to go around it to get there. The lineups outside of it for people that rushed in first thing in the morning to get there. So the atmosphere is electric. 18 still has it for sure, but it's because that's where people come in at, and obviously we go out, it's set up that way perfectly, but it is more, like you said, Kenny, like to that 3 or 4 or 5 holes in that vicinity versus the rest of the course. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that makes a lot of sense because you've seen first timers go out here and win. Koepka won. Hideki almost won in his first time. Cantlay almost won in his first time. I mean, like, maybe because they're elite guys, they played in this type of atmosphere before with the Ryder Cup and stuff like that. But it was always curious to me about Rory, like why he wouldn't play a course that I feel should be perfectly suited for his game, where I feel that he could rack up title after title. And he just hasn't played here. Now he's forced to. Now we'll see how he does. We'll talk about this more when we get to the tiers, because that Rahm versus Rory dynamic, that whole 10K range is pretty sweet. And there's a lot of ways you can go about that 10K range, and I'm racking my mind trying to figure out how I'm going to go about it. And and I still haven't figured it out. So maybe with your help, Tambo, we can get on. But let's move on while I'm getting a work call here. Okay, here we go. So the stadium course, TPC Scottsdale, 7,266 yard par 71, 4 par 3s, 3 par 5s. All the par 5s are reachable in 2 by the majority of golfers, and the 17th hole is a risk-reward drivable par 4. There's really no risk. Everyone goes for it. Like, I there might be like 2 golfers you see the whole week lay it up on 17, unless you can get like crazy winds or something like that. But it's not looking like that. The forecast has been dry. You'll get like 15 to 18 mile per hour winds this week, but it's not going to be insane. The course was redesigned by Tom Weiskopf after the 2014 tournament. He was hired to make the course tougher, so he added length, made landing areas on the fairway smaller, added bunkers, and redid the greens. It looks like he did his job correctly because the course has played a bit more difficult the last few years. In like 2014 or 2013, the last time before the redesign, Phil Mickelson won at -28. We haven't seen a -20 win this event since. So Weiskopf did his job. He's made it more difficult. Now, after the renovations, it's become on average around the 27th most difficult course on tour. Back before the course redesign, it was around the 36th most difficult course on tour. Now, off the tee, golfers are going to see narrow landing areas with bunkers placed strategically. Even though this tournament is played in the desert, water still in play on like 7 holes. And if golfers miss wildly off the tee, they're going to have to deal with desert vegetation. The rough around the fairways has been thicker the last few years. I expect that to be the same this week. The course is set up about 1,200 feet above sea level, and with the arid desert conditions, drives should go a bit further than normal. Actually, all shots will go a little bit further than normal. Now, on approach shots, golfers will see a wide array of green sizes ranging from small to very large. Overall, pretty large greens. Bunkers guard the majority of the Bermuda grass greens. And I say Bermuda grass with like hyphens because it's overseeded with velvet bent and some other shit. It's overseeded with a bunch of crap. Like if you're looking at your model, I probably wouldn't even look at Bentgrass. Or I probably wouldn't even look at Bermuda putting this week. You know, you've seen shitty putters do here. The putting's actually really easy. Like one of the easiest to putt from like 5 to 10 feet on tour, like year in and year out. You know, and so I mean, I don't know how much I would pay attention to the grass type of the greens. Now the greens are relatively flat. That's another reason why they're pretty easy to putt on. They're pretty flat. You know, and they are firm. And I'll have a Stimpmeter rating of around 12. Golfers with weaker short games should rejoice, as getting it up and down from around the greens, not the most difficult of propositions. Of the last, 11 winners here, 9 of them had a top 5 in one of their previous 5 events leading up to their victory at TPC Scottsdale. I'm sorry. Of the last 11 winners, 10 had a top 5 in one of their previous 5 events leading up to their victory at TPC Scottsdale. Tambo, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Yeah, you did a pretty good job of describing it. I think one of the most interesting pieces, though, Kenny, is what we talked about a little bit already, and it will be the dynamic when we get into the tiers of the field and just how much stronger than ever. You know, this is a super strong field across the board. Rahm, Rory, Scheffler, Finau, X, everybody up top. On top of the fact that guys are playing better now than they have in the past. Now you got to add in the Finaus, the Homas. Morikawa looks like he's back going through. Hideki, Ricky, the old course history that used to show up here every so often, all so often, I should say, that is coming up again now. And then the other thing of it with it is, Kenny, you never really hear me talk about course history, but really it goes to your point, almost falls in line with like a course fit, crowd fit, if you will. But like you said, just part of that atmosphere that people talk about and being able to play in it. The one thing I will say, just add on before we hop into these tiers that you mentioned before, one thing I was going to add on was about that, like everyone acts like everyone here is an asshole. That's not the case. Like that's obviously on 16, people are drunk and some people are acting like idiots. It's not really like every hole you go to, someone's calling you a piece of shit or, yelling stuff at you or
profanity. It's not the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, it's not that. That's what I will say, at least from being there. Of course, there's always an idiot out there, and you've seen some of them. And I've told the story on this show before about Billy Ho. Billy Ho coming back and giving everyone the finger. He's just pissed off. And certain people get a little bit too aggressive on 16. Like someone makes a noise. We know it's not ethical and, not to make noise in the backswing and all the golf ethics, etc. But, when that happens, some people take it too far. Other guys just laugh at it or relish in it. You can see them kind of smirk. Other guys, I even saw Ricky doing it a couple years ago where he was like, guys, and like give him like the hands on the hips. Like, come on, Ricky, you know what it is. These guys know they signed up for that. Doesn't mean it's right. No. But my point is it's not what everybody thinks when it comes to that. It's loud. It's hype. Everyone's having a party and a good time, but it's almost like it's a party. Like they say, it's a party at a golf course. That's all it is. No one's really coming at these guys. And that's why, like you said, when you see Cantlay do what he did last year, guys like Thigala and them and others that can just show up and do well, I don't really think much of it other than that. It's just a lot of loud noise, and they're used to that, I think. So I don't really think it's as big a deal as others bring. Stats-wise, you brought up all the stats that I'll be looking at and go throughout when we talk through the tiers, but a lot of this week is going to be to do with ownership, who you like, same as we do at majors, Kenny. It's a major type field, strong field. It's got the setup in the pricing, still pretty soft pricing, only Rahm at 11K and then drops down. So probably for me, taking more stands towards the bottom and mixing more guys at the top, because I do think, like you said, and we've seen it, it's going to be one of these elite guys that ends up coming through. The difference is this week, how far do you call elite when you go down? But like at least playing elite or playing really well, sort of Tom Kim and up, Cam Young and up. But then like you can't discount Spieth, Burns, guys like that, Montgomery, that are down below. So there's a difference in the talent, but I'm looking at it from that perspective. Take more stands down low, mix and match guys up top.
All right, so let's sort of box these tiers in. Let's start in the 10K range, but let's start with Rory versus Rahm. How are you going to go about this? Does the worry of Rory not playing this course have any effect on the way you think about rostering him? And who's going to be higher owned? Tambo, who do you think? What do you think?
Jeez, man, that one's tough. I do think people will side with Rahm. The ASU history, the fact that he's played here so many times and he always is pretty much a top 10. Now, you could flip that on its head, Kenny, and say, what are his results? 10th, 13th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 16th. That's what most will say. And I think in this field, you could get away with it some. Now, he doesn't need to win, but people always say that, and I talk about that differently. But when you have a field this strong with pricing bunched this high at the top, it's very likely that he does need to do a lot more for 11K than a 10th or a 13th place. So can he do it? Of course, he's got 3 wins in his last 5 worldwide, 2 of his last 3 on the PGA Tour. But I don't know, people just jump on Rory. I actually think you could see, Kenny, where people side more with the tier down below. Because when we get into this next segment, I'm not trying to go there yet. I'll let you talk on it, but I'm just saying Scheffler won it last year. Finau playing out of his mind, but bad course history. Xander, you're going to talk about him. And then you get into the next range, which has all those other dudes. I do think people will sort of go that route a little bit more. And the one thing I will say, Kenny, about going back to take it back to the top question, Roy Rahm, is this is not like some of the other fields I said a couple weeks ago when you had Rahm, but a bunch of scrubs down low. This field is actually, I think, down to, with John Huh and Lanto Griffin out and then the Monday Q guys to come back in, I think it's capped at 135. And I think now it's going to be like 132, 133. Rose, who is not in the DraftKings pricing, but I assume got in based on today, said he's going to withdraw. No, I know, but he gets in. I'm saying he won. But he said he was going out, and everyone was automatically saying, well, that's good news for Nick Hardy, who is the first alternate, but that's not true. It is a closer step towards it, but he actually needs, I think, 1 or 2 more to withdraw for him to be eligible to get into the field because they're running it at a cap this year. So it's really tough for these alternates to get in with these designated events, these big purses, all of that. We'll see how it goes if Nick Hardy ends up getting in, but with John Huh, Lanto out, and assuming Rose is not taking his spot, as he said, it might only be 1 spot to go for Nick Hardy. So I don't know, Kenny, it's tough up here to make a choice. I always lean Rahm, so I'll probably continue. My guy Hoop said it best over at Rum Pure. He always says if you always play Rahm, probably stick to playing Rahm. If you don't, then hop off. But Rory, like you said, probably doesn't matter that he's only seen this place once or twice when you look at what he's doing right now. And he's also coming off a win of his own, and his skill set plays anywhere. So I don't think the crowds are going to worry him too much.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think here's one thing. Here's a hot take. If they're paired together, I'll pick Rahm over Rory.
Okay.
If they're not paired together, I'd pick Rory over Rahm. Rahm has that chip on his shoulder, and Rory is the chip. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's who the chip is. He thinks he should be where Rory is right now. And probably not because Rory's been playing better. But maybe because, he's won a major a lot more recent than Rory has. Now, I think I'm going to go with Rory, like I said, but if they're paired together, I'll go with Rahm. That's the way I'm going. That's the way I'm going about it. And they could definitely be paired together. They could do a superstar pairing, threesome out here pretty easy. And so we shall see. That's how I'm going for those two. But now let's go from Scheffler down to Victor Hovland, because I figure at least one of these guys from Scheffler to Hovland are going to be under-owned. I think it might be Cantlay or Homa or Scheffler. Who do you think in this range is going to be the lowest owned? Because that's a guy I'm definitely playing.
Yeah, I definitely feel people are going to have trouble getting to Max Homa, not because they love the guy. He just won. He's been more dominant than some of these other guys that he's around. And it's just hard to see the name there, sticker shock-ish of the price tag, but it's more of where he's at, Kenny. When you've got Finau and Xander right above him and JT Morikawa, Cantlay, guys like that right below him, I don't know how many people click the button, even with the Best Buy pricing. So I think he at least gets squeezed some. Again, remember this takeaway. I talk about this all the time at these strong events with soft pricing, which you get at any type of major, or especially this year with the way DraftKings is doing things and these designated events, it's all going to formulate that way. You don't have to worry as much about it because everyone gets the ownership and it just gets spaced out. And then some guys that should be more owned are not. Some guys are under, you just find these spots that you can pick up on, but you really should just kind of focus on the guys that you like. But I do think Homa gets left behind in that reasoning that he's squeezed between those guys I mentioned. Lastly, though, Kenny, I want to bring this up, though. What if Rahm's paired with Cantlay? Don't you got to get on Rahm there, too? Because he's the guy, he's literally name-dropping Cantlay multiple times, saying, it makes no sense how Patrick is here and I'm here. So that would be another one that you could take your stance on if you wanted to.
I mean, I'm thinking Scotty or Finau could get squished out a little bit in ownership. Just because if you look, Rahm and Rory are going to take 45% total in GPPs combined. right there.
Scotty always gets squeezed though, for sure. So I could definitely see that. And people will say, "Oh, he already won it last year. Hasn't been that good lately, even though it's like a sneaky like 11th, 7th, 2nd." But I would love that if people would squeeze Scotty out because I think he's a fine play here, no problem.
Yeah, I think he could be like my favorite play in the 10K range if the ownership lays out and he's the least owned, which I think is very possible. It's either going to be him or Finau. That's going to be the least owned. I like both, but I like Scheffler better. So we'll see. But my first cash game cornerstone is in the 10K range. It's going to be Xander. I'm not worried about his injury. He came out the last time out, top 10, top 15. He looks fine to me. He's playing a course where he's a stud at top 10 year in and year out. Xander, and the price is cheap. You can start at 10K, and I can have 3 guys over 9K and not go in the 6K range and still feel comfortable this week. Even though there are some 6K guys there. But there's one, my punt play is a guy that I really like this week. So that's why I went with a 7K guy as my punt play. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, if we go back to this like Homa through Decky, I like your Homa call. I think I'm only going to play one of these guys because I like the bottom so much. So we'll go to my second and third cash game cornerstones, which are in the 9K range. It's going to be Sung Jae. Course history is fine here. Ranked number 3 in my model. Tee to green solid. Really good with his longer irons. You're going to see about 25% of all approaches from 150 to 175 and like 15 to 20 from 200 plus. He's one of the best from 200 plus out there. Of course, long par fours he's good at off the tee, one of his strengths. His a little bit more accuracy in the distance, but he's not necessarily short. So we're going Tom. I'm going Sung Jae as my second cash game cornerstone. Third cash game cornerstone right underneath him, Tom Kim. Got both of these guys at 30 to 1 this morning. Of course, iron game strong, tons of birdies. Really good from 150 to 175. He's actually first in my model in the last 50 rounds, and he's 11th from 200 plus. This seems like a course that he can do some damage, and so I like Tom as well. Who do you like in this range, Tambo?
Yeah, when you first brought the range up, you said let's stop at Hovland, and I was like, well, you're leaving the 2 guys at the bottom that are
because I know they're going to be chalky. They're going to be chalky.
Good call.
I was trying to find the unchalkiness in that range because there's going to be someone from Hideki to Scheffler, and we're going to look at the ownership on Thursday morning, and we're going to be like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? There's going to be one player like that in that range. I don't know who it is yet, but once I get the ownership projections from the people I trust, like Gob and and other people, then I'll make my decision then.
Yeah, the funny part is, like you said, they're going to be popular, but actually when we get to bets later, that's where I started. My card is at Sung Jae and Tom. I got them both at 28. I love them both here. I'm always a big Sung Jae fan, but it was like 2 years ago when I was trying to bet this exact. It was like an exacta. I was trying to bet Kenny. Can't remember. It was Sung. I think it was Sung Kang, maybe KH Lee at the time. Might have been KH Lee, and I was saying I want to bet on them to get a hole-in-one on 16. And it was like within 4 feet or 3 feet. It was so close. I almost got it. I was live in the booth up on the skybox on 16, and it was so close to happening. I feel like, look, Tom Kim is so electric. Can you imagine if he gets the hole-in-one? It's like the golden child, the destiny. You got the Tiger highlight back in the day, getting that hole-in-one. Forget the other ones, the Sam Ryder last year, all that stuff. But imagine Tom Kim gets the hole-in-one on 16 on Saturday.
Well, his legend would be unbelievable because you got to think, like, we're looking at this from like die-hard golf fans. Do like normal people know who Tom Kim is?
I don't know.
You think? I don't think so. Know. I don't think so. I think this could be the week where everybody, you don't have to be a degenerate golf fan like us to know who Tom Kim is. And this is the week. This could be his breaking out into that next step of celebrity, eliteness, skill in the game of golf. So I expect a big weekend for him. He was there all last week practicing. He knows it's big money, and he ain't fucking around. He was there last week. He's been there for, by the time he tees off on Thursday, he'll be there for over a week. So you can get that. And like I said, first timers, no problem at this course. There's no tricky green reading craziness or like you see in Vegas or something like that. It's just easy to read green, smooth, velvety. Hit it in the fairway, get your green and regulation, make your putt. It's a Tom Kim course. Anybody else in this 9K range before we move down?
The one thing I will say, you mentioned him earlier, but I still like Cantlay. The result last year, I don't think was any fluke. I just think, again, we could still go back to a guy like him. He's 9,600. I like Morikawa there as well. Morikawa, again, another guy coming in, finally finding stuff, and he just looks good. So for me, Morikawa, Cantlay, Sungjae, Tom are like my 4 favorites right now in that range.
All right, let's move down to the 8K range. I mean, Cam Young is going to be one sticks out at 8,900. Not crazy. I got him 45-1 Saturday on DraftKings, which I think is a good number. I also got Hovland, who we skipped up there, who I don't mind this week as well. We'll see if I end up rostering him, but I did bet him 35-1. Not the best course history here, but he played well last week. Now, when it comes to Cam Young, he finished runner-up to Abe in the Asian Tour in Saudi Arabia, got a nice little chunk of change coming back into town. I mean, I'm not too worried about the flight and everything like that. Just because, he's not like an old man. He's young. He can handle it. I got no worries about that. Other guys, one guy I'm keeping my eye on is Shane Lowry. He just called it off with his longtime caddy, has a new caddy. The thing about Shane is his numbers have been good. He's just haven't been getting the results. So maybe with something new on somebody new on his bag, it can jumpstart him. We've seen this before with other golfers. I mean, like JT is the one that comes to mind immediately. Who get a new caddy and they go out and win like in their next event or two. I could see that from Shane. So I like Shane Lowry. I don't think he's going to be very highly owned. So I like him at 8,200. And I think I'm going to Ricky. $8,100. You could tell the work he has done with Butch Harmon has helped his game. It looks more consistent. It looks like more of the Ricky of old. I was going to wear my Ricky Puma sweat hoodie, but I got too fat for it. So I couldn't wear it today. But yeah, I like Ricky at 8K. What about you, Tamlin?
Yeah, the Ricky thing is funny because this is where we got to talk about DFS versus betting. Like I saw the numbers. I think people are betting him at like 75 or 80-1. No, maybe they got better numbers. I don't know. That's not for me. No. But at 8K, I can play him. Like it's one of 6 guys on your roster. He does play well around this place. You talked about new caddies just a second ago. What about his? He's been better so far, at least with the new caddy back with Claude Harmon. Right, you got all that setup that he's done. Again, I don't think he's going to be the greatest play, or the greatest guy in the tournament. So I'm not going to bet him to win. But I got no problem playing a guy like him at 8K. There's going to be a bunch of those guys when we get into the 7K range too, where I see people betting them that I feel more comfortable in just playing them in DFS. But going back to this 8K range, the Cam Young one is just again another misprice. He played horrible in that the same misprice a couple weeks ago when he was 9,100. He played bad and came like 23rd. Still scored like crazy. Everything, he can have a bad week, it's fine, but at 8,900 people shouldn't be surprised at his ownership. Like there's a reason why he's one of the worst prices on the slate versus talent and upside. That's just the way it is. Why the ownership goes there. If you're surprised, you shouldn't be. Sam Burns, this guy is another one in the opposite for me, Kenny. Bet him because he was 45-1 with 8 places. Some people got him at 55. That is just too big of a number. And last year that printed. Every time we had a spot where a guy was a bad number, it would go on to win. Didn't it work here with a guy a couple of years ago? When Brooks won here, wasn't it at like 40-1? Everyone was like, that's a bad number. And then
it was something like that. Yeah. And
then we shipped. I mean, that to me is just, it's kind of the opposite. It's not like I love Sam Burns. History here is not great. It's just about the number. In that case, that to me is too good to pass up. So I bet him, but not the highest guy I'm on here. Some of these other guys, I'm going to keep playing Taylor Montgomery. I don't have it right. I did have it right up in front of me, and now I switched off the stats. But all the stats wise, again, we talk about this week in, week out. It's just the putter. It's all that. He still has other good stats. We'll bring it up again and again. He just keeps showing up.
Well, he's really good off the tee, and he can putt. I mean, we've seen people who can crush the ball off the tee and putt win this event. So
I think that was the Scotty Scheffler formula.
Yeah.
Last year.
Bomb and putt. Oh, Scotty lost strokes with his approaches last year.
But I think he crushed off the tee.
Yeah. And
And obviously you got to make putts to win any tournament. So that's why, whatever. But, that is the setup here. So I actually like Montgomery. I think he's an interesting play this week.
The thing about Montgomery is, since this course is so easy to putt on, does it eliminate some of his edge?
Technically, that's what that plays out when you say it like that, of course, right? But it also, in the end, it's not really true, because what matters is who makes the most, and he makes a lot of putts. So it can also go the other way, and the good putters can show up and come through. And there you are. Look at Pebble this past week. You had, like Rose, McCarthy was up there. Like there was a bunch of other guys that, you just see them, Bo Hostler, that are very good putters that just make their way up the board. That can happen, easy putting or not. Again, like you said, though, if he goes with the Scotty Scheffler formula, not betting him at 60-1. I don't think it's going to be a coming out party for Taylor Montgomery to finally get his win after all these top 10 finishes. But it won't surprise me if he top fives again or whatever. And who knows? But at this number, at 8,300, I'm going to play him. And then I actually have more love for Ricky at the bottom than for, playing on DFS than I do for the Fleetwoods or the Lowrys and the guys you mentioned. Like good story on Lowry, like you said, and I love Lowry's talent and upside, but it's more of those guys above that I like, and then Ricky's fine at 8K. Like some guys in the upper sevens a little bit more.
Go ahead, sevens.
Yeah, it starts with the other guy that's been playing well. We just saw Rose win, but who's the other guy that we've been saying that we've been watching him play better and better? And he's right at the top. Jason Day, $7,900. What is his recent? 7th, 18th. Doesn't matter to me about this course setup or anything. Again, he's 7,900. I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm playing him in DFS. That's the guy I'm going with. Keegan Bradley, we talked about everything with him. Bet him already. Others got a better number, but I'm comfortable with 75-1 with 8 places. Nice thing too, Kenny. We used to always say he's going to fade on Sunday here because he's got to get out. He's got to go to get back to watch his Patriots. Tom, the Bucks, the Patriots, none of them are in the Super Bowl this year, so don't got to worry about that. And if he wants to go to the Super Bowl, he can still get there. It's just down the street. They're going to be playing it in Arizona at the same time again this season. So interesting there, but you don't have to worry about that. So Keegan Bradley's the guy I get interest in. Alex Noren, I like. Corey Connors is in there. Man, just a few other guys, but I mean, the other one I was going to bring up was Siwoo. We've been talking about this since the start of the season about just, the amount he's going to play and what he can do and what he's been doing in the win he got, but then 22nd, 25th, there's a lot of upside there with him at 7,800. So I'll take him as well in the upper 7K range.
Yeah, Keegan's my favorite here. He actually was first in strokes gained putting his last time out. When he finished runner-up, I forget which tournament it was, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where he was actually first in strokes gained putting. If he can continue that with the ball striking that he normally shows throughout his whole career, at $7,600, this seems like a play, no doubt in my mind. And you got Noren, who's doing some things across the pond, had a good finish recently, had a 6th place finish here last year. I do like Noren. KH Lee, roster the Korean week. It's another roster the Koreans week. It really is. I mean, all of them make sense this week. KH had a runner up here a couple of years ago. Hollywood Hoagie had only $7,500. I know he hasn't been playing great, but he hasn't been playing bad. And we were getting him at like 10-2, 10-1 here recently. For $7,500, you can do a lot worse for the best, iron player in the last 50 rounds in this field. So yeah, I got no problem with that. If we go down a little bit lower, I really like Killer Keith Mitchell. Really good showing this past week. JT Poston. Those two guys are course history guys. Those two guys I don't mind in cash. And my final cash game cornerstone is actually going to be Taylor Moore at 7,000. He's actually gained strokes in all but putting the last 2 events he's played. He's never done that before. So he's gained strokes off the tee, approach, around the green. In his last 2 outings, finished 15th and 11th. I think already finished either top 15 or top 20 or something like that this past week. The guy I don't think he's played this course before, but it's fine with me. I like him as my lowest price guy. So my cash game cornerstones for the week are going to be Xander at 10K, Sungjae at 9.2, Tom at 9.1, and Taylor Moore at 7,000. Leaves you 14,700 to finish the rest of your lineup. Other guys, Lucas Herbert. I think he's had a couple of back-to-back top fives across the pond.
Top threes.
Top threes. The guy's playing good golf. I got him at 150 to 1, and I'll play him on DFS. Higo has been playing decent golf, making a few cuts here recently. I do like Higo here. Those are probably about it when it comes down to it. I mean, I'm sure I'll play some more. I mean, Putnam. I mean, he went from 10K to 7K quick. I mean, it's not the guy like missed a cut last week. That's it. I don't mind him at 7K. So anybody else in this lower range that you're a big fan
I didn't do the lower range yet. I stopped above. I'm going to echo some of the same guys as you, but I was going to say one more I missed up top was Aaron Wise. Again, people bet him at 100 to 1 or something. I'm not interested in that at 7,600 though. I'll definitely play him. I have no problem going to him there. KH Lee, who you mentioned, 7,500 fair price. And then the price drops. Hoagie, again, this is warranted, 10K to 7,500. Keith Mitchell, 9,100 down to 74. I like Mitchell more, so I would definitely play Mitchell over Hoagie if choosing, but I like them both. Brian Harmon is cheap at all. Like Brian Harmon would have been 9K or 10K last week in that field, so it's kind of the same thing that you're looking at here. Taylor Pendrith, we talked about, and then who's the other guy you mentioned with Poston with history here? Was it Steele?
It was Mitchell.
Oh, Mitchell. Yeah. Steele's another guy, though. I mean, Kuchar has good history here, too, at 7,300. But I like Brendan Steele at 72 a little bit more. So I like Steele. And then just rounding it out, if you want to go back to Davis Thompson, showed us a lot last time out, stuck in there until the end. He did his thing. So I got no problem with that. Putnam, who you mentioned, we paid a lot more for last week, another guy. And again, that stuff makes sense. They all went down a similar amount. I'm just saying that's why you could still put them into your tournament builds. They played pretty good this past week, or at least were there. Now they come to a course. Some of them have history on, like you mentioned with Mitchell. I don't mind Steele there as well. So anybody like that in that range that you want to go with, I'll be using a lot of these guys in here though, Kenny, because 6,700, I've got a few guys and up, but after that, it does kind of drop off a little bit, and you can make a name for them, but doesn't mean I'm going to play them all. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, two guys in the 7K range that I think are going to win soon. Or win again soon. Keegan and Pendrith. I think Pendrith is going to win one here soon. Driver heavy course. Driver's the best, one of the best clubs in his bag. This could be the week. 100 to 1 is what I got Pendrith for. So I like that bet a lot. And I like him in DFS as well. Now, when you get down to Wyndham Clark, another one who can bomb and putt. If you can bomb and putt, hey, you can win this event. Give me Wyndham Clark at $7,200 for DFS purposes as well. All right, if we're going now, and Molinari, another guy that you could think of who has plenty to play for, wants to make that Ryder Cup team in Italy this year. Played well a few weeks ago across the pond. He could surprise. He's working on length. He's gained a little bit on his driver here in the last 6 to 8 months. He used to be one of the best iron players out there. If he gets that back and adds that drive, he could come back, for a little last showing, because I guess he is in his early 40s, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one last hurrah for Molinari, and this is the best time to do it right before the Ryder Cup in his home country. All right, so the 6K range. I mean, Matt Hughes, Russell Knox is the one guy that I can get behind. Again, course history, he makes a lot of cuts. Iron game, exceptionally strong. Hayden Buckley, off the tee, he is excellent. Really good on long par fours. Callum Tarum, Pat Kazire, another guy, made 5 of his last 6 cuts at this event. It doesn't look that great, but he plays this event pretty well. Brendan Wu played well last week. Grayson Sig. So there's some names down here that you can play. What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, there's not as many that I like. Like I said, if you go back to it and just look, but it's mainly 6,700-ish and up. If you just go through some of the names there, I like going back to some of the guys from last week. Stallings, Hostler, both look pretty solid up top. I always play Davis Riley, so I'm not going to go away from him at 6,800. So I like him. Hayden Buckley, who you mentioned, looks pretty good. I play David Lipsky. I think I forgot one more guy. I was just saying he made me think of. Oh yeah, JJ Spawn at 7,300. Going back up there, he was another guy that I like here, so I can go back to him. And then who's the other guy I was going to say? There was one more down here. Buckley. Lipsky. Oh, Johnny Vegas. I played him a bunch last time out. I think it was not like the worst result that we got 25th or something. So people were a little bit worried about injury. He's got a 10th place here just a couple years back or a few years back. So I don't mind going to someone like him. And then Steven Yager was the last guy. Yager Bombs, my other guy that I like to play. So I think I got two of them, if not at least one, in the Mayo season-long draft that we did. It was Lipsky and Spawn that I got there, but Yager is the guy I would have taken. I do like him. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me down here. There's nobody really 6,500 and below that I love. Like I said, though, Kenny, when you've got Brandon Wu, people play Mark Hubbard, Kevin Tway just played all right. Redmond.
Is Party Marty layered in this field?
Who?
Party Marty.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I forgot about him too. I think he's in the 7K range, though.
Oh, is he?
He was, I think, 7,200. Let me just look it up here. I had
another guy with a great question. One guy I forgot.
6,700. I do like him as well. Yeah, I mentioned Vegas, but I like Party Marty as well.
One thing I forgot to mention in the 7K range about Keegan. He's a very streaky golfer. Keegan Bradley. Sorry to break up the chain, but I'm looking through his finishes, and you look at how, like, when he gets hot, he stays hot for a little bit of time. I mean, you look at this fall, he finished 5th at the Sanderson, and next week he wins the Zozo. You look last year, he finished 5th of the Players, missed the cut the next week, but then went 8th and 2nd the 2 weeks, after that missed cut, after his 5th of the Players. The guy's sort of a streaky golfer. And hopefully, you look the year before, 2nd of Valspar, 18th of Wells Fargo, 17th of the PGA. And that's after a top 10 at the Arnold Palmer. Again, streaky type golfer. I really like Keegan. He's going to be one of my highest owned guys in this field in DFS. I will say that now. All right, so one and done. I'm going Sung Jae. Yeah, I went Mav last week and he withdrew. It sucked.
I also did that, so I was happy we had Denny in the one Mayo and I do, so that was nice. He had a T4 or something, but I had Decky. Like, do we just say he's enough back, and where else would you be saving him for? So use him, and then I also had Sung Jae or Tom playing a couple. So picking from that group of three is probably where I'll be at. I think I side with Sung Jae over Tom, even though I'll be playing both of them and bet both. We'll get to that in a minute. But I definitely like the Decky thought of just where else am I using him? So why not use him here? So I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah, I mean that's I thought about Decky as well. But I think Sung Jae can really win this event. So I'm going to go ahead and go with him. All right, so bets for this week. I got Tom 30-1, Sung Jae 30-1, Victor Hovland 35-1. Cameron Young, 45-1. Keegan Bradley, 65-1. Taylor Pendrith, 100-1. Lucas Herbert, 150-1.
Yeah, I like that. Again, we got a lot of the same card, but I only got 4 right now. No long shots. I mean, count Bradley, I guess, but Sung Jae, 28. Tom Kim, 28. Burns, 45 with 8 places, and Bradley, 75 with 8 places. I'm going to wait and see how things shake out. And again, I think there's also opportunity that you could see where, someone get a better number on somebody after the first day or something. With how strong the field is, we've seen this plenty of times in other events. It's not like this is a 25 under. You talked about it in your preview the year, or you talked about it on Twitter today too. Like Phil Mickelson wins at 28 under. Now it never gets to 20. So that to me is like I got no problem grabbing somebody on Thursday night or Friday afternoon or whatever.
Well, I mean, what this tournament does that others don't is they don't water the greens in between rounds.
Too, yeah.
Like when you get to like Saturday and Sunday, they can really bake out. And there's no rain in the forecast. There's barely been rain the whole year in Phoenix. So, by the time the weekend comes around, you could see some implosions and stuff like that, no doubt.
Yeah, I like that play for this tournament just a little bit more, but I don't love the numbers on the guys at the top, and I don't really think there's any chance we get a long shot, so I don't want to commit to that like based on numbers only. I'll do it with a guy like Sam Burns.
Pendrith and Keegan. I just got a feeling those two
I will say this,
soon.
Kenny. I do kind of like the Pendrith one. I don't know if you're just selling me on him or talking me into him, but I do kind of have a good feeling about that.
Me too, because I don't know. It's just desert golf and Canadians. Isn't that a thing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
isn't that a thing? And then you got him. Where's he priced? What is he, 7,400 this week? I mean, he's going to crush the par fives. He's one of the best off the tee here. Really good on long par fours. Iron game above average. Tee to green well above average. Because of how good he is off the tee. Top 20% and birdies are better in this field. I just think a win is coming for this guy. And I could see it on a course where it's 100% driver heavy. They're going to be pouting. They're going to be hitting drivers like 12 times around.
We're going to bet Taylor Pendrith. I already know what's going to happen. We're going to bet Taylor Pendrith. Taylor Montgomery wins.
Yeah, or some shit like that. Taylor Moore, another guy I talked up big time and don't have my card. Right. Yeah. That's probably good. I saw Taylor Moore. I think he was only 75-1 last time I looked, and that's not a number that I would get behind for him. But I mean, when it comes to him, like I said, he's gained strokes around the green, on approach, off the tee, in back-to-back events. He lost strokes putting in this past week's event, and the best part of his game is putting. So if he can continue that ball striking, that tee to green type play, and add that putter back to what it normally is, because I think 2 weeks ago when he played, he only gained like 0.1, 0.2 strokes putting. I think last week he lost like 0.6 or something. I don't have it in front of me, but he lost like 0.6 to 1.1, somewhere in that area. And so, his downfall the last 2 weeks of his two back-to-back top 20s has been his putter. And so the best part of his game is the putter. So if he can somehow get that back up, that's why I like him in cash. I think the upside is there for him at 7K. And that's what I'm going to use as my punt play. And so Taylor Moore, like him, it's the Taylor and Korean show this week. And also, don't forget your Kegel exercises, because big Keegan Bradley fan this week. Tambo, anything else?
No, man, I like it. I like everyone we're on. We're going to build some of those lineups out with those guys, and then we'll have more as the week goes on, of course.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. You can find my article on gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30%. I'll add like any adjustments to my cash game cornerstones. Last week, I had to adjust my cash game cornerstone. So hopefully either you're a member of Gups Corner or you follow my Twitter, because we heard about that Fitzpatrick injury to move the power. Didn't really help. And then you could, and I also have my new thing, fade of the week. I think last week was Dahmen. I think he might have made the cut. It's been tough. I've been trying to go over 9K for my fade of the week. And some have been good, some have been horrible, like top 5. But I'm still trying to get that part that's new for me. Also, you can find my final betting card and my favorite GP pay, single GPP play in each price range. I can guarantee you there'll be 2 in the 7K range this week instead of just 1. Keegan and Pendrith. There you go. Tambo.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Totag and Tambo. Got the tidbits coming out free every Wednesday. Of course, that thread will be out. You guys can check it out there. It's been pretty good to start the season. So a lot of good information there, and some winners and some long shots, things like that. Rose was in there again this week. I forget who exactly talked him up, but solid. So check that out. Find me on Twitter at Totag and Tambo. And then, of course, runpuresports.com. Got everything going there. All sports, one price. If you want a discount, we have a code Tambo15. You get 15% off. Every package available, whatever you want to use it on. So check that out. And this week for Wednesday for the premium show, Big T will be back on with me. So myself, Big T, and Hoop every Wednesday doing the premium show there. And of course, on this very channel, Mayo Media Network, you will find me with Mayo doing the live in studio show Wednesday. It comes out about Wednesday, just after mid-morning, after lunch, depending on where you're at. So check that show out as well.
All right, so big week. Basically, the first week of the real PGA Tour season and the motherfucking Super Bowl. Fuck the Eagles. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.